Welcome back. Today, again, we'll be practicing forward bends, but a little bit deeper work with these forward bends. So we'll be working, of course, with the hamstrings and some counterbalances. We'll use props and we'll use blocks and the wall. So join me for this, and at any point during the video, if it's too much for you, then you stop and get more props, because it will be a little bit more advanced than the beginner's Uttanasana series. Okay? So let's get started.
Before we get started, if you want to learn the basics of Iyengar Yoga,
I've designed a new course, Foundational Iyengar Yoga. This course is for you if you're a beginner, if you've been practicing for a while and you just want to deepen your understanding, or if you're a teacher and you would like to be more inspired, go back to the basics. So it's a 6-week course, 18 different classes, and you'll be able to go through at your own pace.
you can find more details in the description box below.
All right, let's get started. So standing in Tadasana, and take your feet hips-width apart, just to begin with. Bring your arms up to Urdhva Hastasana. Connect with the feet, front of the foot, the heel, lift up through the knees, thighs back, buttock forward, tailbone in, and then reaching forward. Bring your hands down. Coming into Uttanasana, extending the arms back. Release your head down. We'll do that a couple times, just slowly to begin with. Lift, open, exhale, coming down. And then again, exhale. And then bring your arms up. Take your feet a little bit wider now. And you're going to swing your hands through your legs. Inhale, exhale. A couple times. Exhaling with the breath as you go down. Inhaling, coming up. Coming back, keep your legs straight. Uttanasana, Urdhva Hastasana. So just create some warmth. And now bring your feet closer together. And again, lengthen back. Bending from the hips. And then stay. Press into the heels, lift up through the backs of the legs. Press the fingertips into the floor. Move your thighs back, roll the thighs back, lift the backs of the thighs up. Release the head down. And now come into Malasana with the arms out. Come back into Uttanasana. Hands back. Come up into Utkatasana. Reaching down. Reach the arms up. Uttanasana. Again, come into Malasana. Drop the hips down. Now sit on your hips, extend the legs out, come into Dandasana. Make sure you're on the mat, about in the center. You want your heels close to the edge of your mat, and then you're going to bring your arms over. To begin with, you're going to lay on your back, adjust your pelvis. Keep your hands pressing down. So you're using the hands just to begin with for the first few that we do here to lift the hips up, press, lift the legs up, come into Ardha Halasana, and then come down, and come back up, Paschimottanasana, and then coming back, lift the hips up, pressing the arms, coming back, forward bend, Paschimottanasana, again. Lift the hips up. And coming down. Stay with your breath. Extend the arms. So the arms are straight, the legs are straight. Now, if that wasn't difficult for you to bring your legs up or your hips up, now you can take the arms over the head, lift the legs, and each time you go over, see if you can come a little closer to the floor. As you come up, lift your arms, extend over the legs, inhale coming up, lift up, exhale coming forward. So moving at your own pace with your breath. Keep the legs straight, keep the arms straight. Taking 5 more. So beginning to warm the spine up. Two more. And end up in Paschimottanasana, Urdhva Mukha. So concave the back, look up, holding onto the feet or onto the ankles. Look up, lengthen, and then release the head down and just be there. Couple breaths, and then inhale, straighten the arms, come up. Dandasana. And now you come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bring your hands to the front of the mat. Walk your legs back. With both the hands pressing into the floor, especially the index finger pointing forward. If you're tight in your shoulders, you can take your hands a little bit wider or even turn the arms out. Move the thighs straight back, so as if you were pressing the thighs into a wall. Front thigh moving back, descend down toward the heels. If the heel doesn't reach the floor, you can roll the end of your mat and put it underneath the heels, so you have something to press back into. And then coming forward, walk the feet forward, taking the feet closer, Uttanasana. First the fingertips under the shoulders, lengthen forward. And then bring the hands back. Continue lengthening forward. Move the front ribs away from the abdomen. And then bend the elbows. Release the head down. And then inhale, come up, Urdhva Hastasana. And Tadasana. Okay, now we're going to go to the wall. So we're going to go into Adho Mukha Svanasana, Ekapadasana. So one leg is going to go up the wall. So you'll be close enough to the wall. Your heels are on the wall. So you can bring your heels up the wall, and with the hands, lengthen up through the arms. And now I'm going to turn the left foot and bring the toes up the wall. So keep the toes pointing down toward the floor so I can adjust this hip. So I want to keep the hips level, pelvis level, and I'm pressing up through the heel of the hand, lifting up. And now I'm going to lift the toes off the floor of the other foot. And then coming down, come back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can also have a block there. I'll show with the block. Okay, I have the blocks up on edge. If you don't have blocks, it's okay. Just bring your heels up onto the wall. So hands in place. Bring the heels, bring the toes onto the floor, bring the heels onto the block. Move the thighs back. And now I'm going to take the other leg up. So the toes are going to guide me so I can keep that hip level. Slide the toes up. So in other words, I'm not coming up like this. But the inner thigh is lifting up first. Outer thigh stays in that direction of moving toward the floor. So I press with the hands, lengthen, and then I'm going to lift the toes of the other leg. As I lift the toes, it drives the femur bone up into the hip socket, so I have more connection with the legs. And then come down. And now I'm going to come a little bit closer. So if that was already a stretch for you, then you do that one again. Otherwise, come a little bit closer. Toes on the floor. And then slide that foot up again. And now this time I want you to turn the toes so the fronts of the toes slide up the wall. You can bend the knee and release and lengthen your front abdomen over your thigh so you feel like you're lengthening. And stretch the toes up. Straighten the leg. And then come down. Do the other side. So first sliding the toes up, then turn the toes. You can bring the knee onto the wall. And then I'm sliding the toes up, sliding the front of the foot up. And then press into the heel, lift the toes up. One of my toenails is caught there, so I'm going to turn the toe and lift up. Adjust your hips. And then come down. Come into Uttanasana. So come into resting Uttanasana. Hold on to the elbows. Bring the arms in front of you. Hold the elbows. Arms are in the back of the head. And then with the hands, I'm drawing, drawing the elbows and the upper arms down so the side trunk is lengthening. You can see your knees, inner knee rolling back. Inner thigh rolling back, front thigh moving toward the wall, backs of the thighs lifting up. So from the inner knee and the outer knee, lift up, up into the hips. And then coming down, coming up, lift up. All right, so now we're going to go into Uttanasana a little bit deeper before we go on. So I'm going to turn toward the wall. And this is the part of the back that is the less intelligent here, or the tightest part of the back, depending on your condition. So I'm going to use the wall to feel my back and move my back away from the wall. Okay, much the same that we use in Padangusthasana when we are holding with the toes and we bring the back away from the ceiling. So this part of the middle back is what I'm going to use at the wall. So I'll come in, bend the knees, and I have to drop my head down. And as I walk in closer to the wall, I want to try and release my head down so that my upper back can come closer onto the wall. I'm going to walk my feet in, press my back, and then here, I'm going to straighten my legs. So you can do it slowly. So remember the insertion of the hamstring muscle on the inner and outer knee and at the ischial tuberosity up here in the sitting bone. But you don't want to overstretch that. Okay, you want to lengthen up using the guide of where they're fixed here and lifting up. Take your hands down and see, can you walk yourself down the wall a little bit more? Thighs back, straighten the legs completely, release your head down. So you have to kind of wedge yourself in. Get your back there, feel your back. Release your head. Extend the legs. And abdomen is moving towards your lower back. So if your abdomen is pressing towards your thighs right now, exhale, release the abdomen toward the lower back, holding with the legs, the arms, release down. Straighten the knees. Lift up through the backs of the thighs. And then come down. Come back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can use your hands at the wall. Walk your feet back. And then walk forward. Come back into Utkatasana. Brings your hamstring muscle into a little bit of a neutral feeling there. And then come into Malasana. You can have your hands at the wall. If you have blocks, you can have hands reaching forward to the blocks. Bring your knees apart. If you have ropes, you can hold onto your ropes. If you want to go a little bit deeper, take your hands on your ankles. Press your forearms and release your head down. And then come up. Okay, now we're going to go into Ardha Padangusthasana. Okay? We're going to use the wall. All right? So, in this one, both feet are together, whereas in downward dog, the feet were separated. So here, we're coming into forward bend, Uttanasana, fingertips on the floor, and you're going to take your right leg up. So I'm taking my right leg up, sliding the foot up like I did in Adho Mukha Svanasana, Ekapadasana. And then I'm turning the foot, sliding the foot up, walking the fingertips back, straightening the leg, and releasing down over that leg. So here, you don't want to move the hip away. So turn the hip, use the foot at the wall. You can stay on the toes. When you're on the toes like that, you can have a little bit more access to what's happening with the hips. So press up through the heel, release. And we'll do the other side. Foot to the wall, slide the foot up. So this inner thigh is lifting up. You can bring the knee to the wall, take your hands back. You can also use the blocks. And then stretching the toes up, or be on the toes and use the toes. The blocks are a little bit too high for me, so I bring my hands onto the floor and lift up. Release down. And then come down. Okay, when we're not using the wall, I won't ask you to go that high because you might not be ready. So we'll come away from the wall now. And here you can use those blocks if you need to. And then come into straight leg behind you, like you were going into Virabhadrasana 3. And as you do, that inner thigh is lifting, outer thigh is descending. Your hips are level. And then you can take the blocks back or be on the floor. And then as you come forward, lengthening the abdomen, lengthening the front ribs, begin to lift your leg up. I'm going to take the blocks away. It's keeping me from going deeper, so reach the leg up, press up into the ball of the foot, and release down. You can bend the knee also and lengthen the abdomen over that front thigh. So when you go into the forward bend, sometimes that abdominal area and rib cage gets stuck. So if you want to lengthen along the thigh before you straighten the leg, bend the knee, bring the thigh, the abdomen on the thigh. So you have a little bit of sensitivity there, how you're lengthening. And then come down, fingertips on the floor, lengthen forward. Take a few breaths there. Getting ready to do the other side. Walk the toes back. So keeping your balance. Keep that. Remember when we were in downward dog and we lifted the foot off the floor and it drove the femur bone up into the hip socket. So as you're on the standing leg, you want to do the same thing. Lift up so that this pelvis is not falling onto the femur bone, but it's lifting. So create lightness there. Bring your leg up. Virabhadrasana 3, level the pelvis. By the way, is my pelvis level? You can always take your hand, just feel. Are you dropping out to your hip? Keep this outer hip moving in, the muscles around the socket, firm, and then start to bring the leg up, start to release down. Remember, you can bend the knee, lengthen the abdomen along that thigh, and then reach up. Press up into the ball of the foot. And then come down. Fingertips underneath your shoulders, lengthen forward. Bend the knees, come into that balancing Malasana, counterbalance with the arms forward. Come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Have a few breaths there. Connect with your hands, your arms, your legs. Feeling both sides of the pelvis. So their pelvis is balanced now. That's your stable seat. And then coming back into Uttanasana. Walk your hands back. Shift your weight so you can feel the weight in your heels. Now feel the weight in the front of the foot. Release down. Deflate the abdomen. Remember the back coming away from the wall. Release your head. Coming up, tape your hands on your ankles. Lengthen forward. Bend the knees. Come into Utkatasana. Roll your shoulders away from the back of the head. Extend the arms, open the lower armpit chest. Release the legs down, the hips down. Urdhva Hastasana and Tadasana. Be in Tadasana. Find your breath there, find your footing. Thighs moving back. Buttocks moving forward, lift your chest. Quiet breath. Okay, so now we're going to sit. Still a forward bend, but it's a seated forward bend. But it goes nicely with what we've just been doing, all the Uttanasana action. So here, bend your knees, take your fingers on your toes, and balance. So here you're balancing on both. In Padangusthasana, when we pull the toes, as I said earlier, we're bringing the back body in to lengthen. So here, when you straighten the legs, you can start with the bent knees, that micro movement, connecting mentally with where the hamstring is inserted, the insertion points up near the sitting bones and near the inner and outer knee. Those two areas in your mind, lengthen and start to straighten the knee. Pull the toes and bring that middle part of the back into the body. And then press up into the mounds of the feet. Look forward. So the same as when we were near the wall, pressing the thighs near the wall. Move the thighs away from you, inner knees rolling away, inner thighs rolling away. And then release. Come into Baddha Konasana. Come forward, holding onto the feet. Forearms on and the elbows are on the thigh. Lengthen the inner leg. Draw back through the outer knee. And then begin to go forward any amount that you can. So here, the same thing. You're breathing into that inner groin and lengthening the inner leg as you come down. You can take a block, whatever height that you think that you need. Coming down a little bit deeper. And then coming back up. And we'll do one more time. So you bring we won't go into the full, this is one of the preparations for going into the full pose. Take your hands on the outer side of the feet. Bring your heels in. So now you've got your abdomen on your thighs. So you want to lift up again. So you're making that space there, creating that length before you go into this. And then hop up so that you're now sitting balanced on both sides of the hips, and then you'll bring your feet up. So you're keeping the knees, moving the knees towards one another, and then pressing up through the ball of the foot. Lift up. So as you lift up, your arms are lengthening more and more, and you're moving that middle part of the back in and up. Look up. Keep the legs active. Extend from the calf toward the heel. Draw the knees up. Inner knee, inner thigh rolling down. And then release. And come back forward again. This time bring your hands forward. Press into the feet. Lengthen the inner groin. So not pressing the knees down, only allowing that length to come. And as that length comes, the knees will descend. Not pressing it down on your own, but allowing it to come down from that length. And then extend your legs out. Adjust your seated position, coming into Paschimottanasana. Just take hold of the toes. Concave the back, Urdhva Mukha action. And now coming forward over this left leg, you're going to walk the hand down and turn. Walk the hand down and turn. And then see, can you take the elbow there? Catch the elbow. Use the other hand on the floor. You're going to find you're falling to that side. Use the other hand on the floor to help you stay even on both hips. Use the arm, turn. Use the hand on the floor, turn. Walk the hand down a little bit further. Turn. And then you can take the arm over, catch the other side of the foot, press the arm into that shin, and just walk the hand down as far as you can. You can even use a block if you can't get that hand. It doesn't stay. Oops. You can bring the elbow onto that block and just get into that twisting action. Okay? If you can catch the arm, walk the arm down. Turn the abdomen, turn the chest. We won't go into the full pose because we haven't really been doing twisting, but just releasing your back from that forward bending, turn the chest. And then come back into that Urdhva Mukha action. And then coming forward again. Walking forward, bring your elbow over. So turning, catch your hand on that outer foot. Use your other hand. Balance. Walk your hand a little bit further forward. See if you can come a little bit lower. Turn the abdomen. Exhale. Release the abdomen toward the lower back. Turning. So press into that hand and turn. So you're lengthening, using the hand on the foot, using the arm on the leg. Use that connection to turn the back. Turn from the waist, turn from the chest. Either having the hand on the block or the hand on the floor. Turn. And then we'll come back forward. Urdhva Mukha action. And again, Paschimottanasana, walk your hands forward. Take the sides of the feet, bend the elbows, and release the head down. At this point, you can take the legs a little bit wider, and you can take a block for your forehead. And then you're going to come up and you'll lay on your back. Take your block. Walk your feet in. Lift your hips up, and just to begin with, have it on the second height so that you feel that evenness on both sides of your hips. Have your feet on the floor. And just let your lower back rest into that. Let the abdomen lengthen. Breathe. So we've done a lot with closing the groin. So now extend your legs out. Coming into Setu Bandha, extend the heels, keep your feet wide. Feel the block right on your sacrum. You can take your hands on the mat, roll the shoulders under. Keep the thighs moving down, descending. And as you press the upper arms down into the mat, lift the chest. Press into the mounds of the feet. Inner knees move down, inner thighs move down. And then bend your knees. Bring your feet in, bring your toes in. You can walk in, holding onto your heels. And then you're going to lift up. So you lift up higher this time, coming onto the toes, lifting up through the pelvis. Turn the block so it's on the narrow edge of the block and bring that right on the tailbone. And then adjust your arms and your shoulders so the shoulders are on the floor. Arms, upper arms, forearms, hands, and then walk your feet out so that they're in line with your knees. Lengthen the thighs so the thighs are parallel to one another. And just take a few breaths here and let the front body lengthen. from the pubic bone to the navel to the chest. Be with your breath. Be with the sensations that you can feel. Allow that to lengthen. And then extend your legs out. Be on the center of the heel. If your shoulders come up off the floor, lift your chest more and release the shoulders down. If the block is too high, you can take the block a little bit lower, or you can bring something underneath your shoulders so that your shoulders are grounded. As you press the heels away, descend the thighs, straighten the legs. And then bend the knees. Bring the feet in. Keep one knee bent. Bring one leg up to Ekapada. Setu Bandha. So keep the heel in line with the hip. So you're feeling, again, that connection from the upper leg into the pelvis, into that hip socket. Keep the back of the buttock on the block so you're not lifting up, bringing the leg forward so much that you feel the pelvis coming off the block. Keep the back of the pelvis on the block. And now bring the foot down. Reground yourself so you feel balance through both left and the right foot, both shoulders, and then bring the leg up. Keep your breath soft. Foot on the floor. It's a Tadasana foot. So you're on all four corners of that foot. The thigh is lengthening. Both sides of the pelvis on that block. Maintaining that lift of the chest and that leg extended upward. Press the foot, press the ball of the foot toward the ceiling. And then bring the leg down. And now balancing, you're going to bring one knee up, bring the other knee up. Feel how the back of the pelvis is on that block. So you're a little bit more precarious here because you're on the narrow side. If you're unable to balance that way, then turn the block the other way. So it's lengthwise, horizontal across your sacrum. And then coming up into Viparita Karani, bring your legs up, but keep the hips on that block. Take a few deep breaths. Feel the lift of the chest. So maintaining the lift of the chest, shoulders grounded, hips on the block. Extend up through the legs and press up through the mounds of the toes. So stabilizing yourself with the weight on the left and the right arm, left and right shoulder. Stay with the inhalation and the exhalation. And then bring the feet down. You're going to walk the toes in, lift up, take the block to its lowest height. Just rest on that block, feet on the floor. And now take the feet into Baddha Konasana. Stay with your breath. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, take the block away, just to the side. Come back onto the feet, adjust the pelvis, and then lengthen out for Savasana. Have space around you. As you lengthen the legs, let the legs turn from the inside to the out. Adjust your arms. Be right on the center of the back of the head. And just allow yourself to be there. Stay with your breath. Extend your exhalation and then let go. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this practice. We went a little bit deeper into forward bends, so always forward bending with caution because there's a lot to think about there. You don't want to overstretch and overdo. So just remembering forward bends, there's a surrendering process that has to happen with the breath and with that holding that sometimes we have because of fear. But it's necessary to just understand how you're doing things and why you're doing things. So just remember, forward bends, there's no destination. It's only a journey. Everyone's body is different, so you have to be with your own body, your own practice, and just always keep yourself safe. All right? So see you in the next class. Namaste.